Hey, good evening. Thank you for joining us on the Thursday Night Hockey Show. I am David Valente and joined this week by Travis Aurednik. How you doing, sir?
What's up, Dave?
How
I'm
much,
good.
man? How you doing?
Uh, got stuck setting up for an expo, so I was running a little behind. But
Ah,
I'm here. I exist.
yeah, yeah, there you go. We are at the end of the regular season, man. Who would have thunk it?
Me. It was scheduled.
There you go. Let's take a look and let me share this.
I'm chilly in my beard.
Well, in order. I did not do that right. Let me try that again. Yeah, tonight's schedule. So starting at 7 o'clock, we've got the Capitals on Long Island trying to get into a better playoff position. They have a chance to do that. Bruins will be hosting the Sabres. This is the last road game that Rick Generette will be calling tonight. This is actually the first one in a couple of seasons that he's gone to. So treat for us as he's riding off to the sunset, and we'll get into that a little bit later. 7 o'clock start. Panthers will be in Ottawa to take on the Senators. Panthers have a chance to lock up the President's Trophy with a win. The Devils will be taking on the Hurricanes in Carolina. Blue Jackets and will be hosting the Lightning. Lightning have a chance to sew up that third position in the Eastern Conference, the Atlantic Division of the Eastern Conference. Wild will be hosting the Flames at 8 o'clock. The Avalanche will be hosting the Preds. The Preds have a chance to vault back in front of the Dallas Stars for wild card one in the West. Avalanche must win to keep their hopes alive for getting the President's Trophy. And see the Oilers and Sharks. No movement in that game. Oilers are pretty much locked into where they're at. And then the Kings and the Canucks will be going later. Again, no movement in this game because the Kings are locked in where they're at. And we'll get into that. Yeah, the Kings, man.
What is it? It's like. I don't know.
All right. All right, man. So, lots to go over this week. I didn't get a chance to look at the thing that Alexander Hutton tagged us in, but apparently there was a pretty gruesome incident at the World Junior Under-18 Championships.
Yeah, I was watching it whenever I was walking in. Ow.
Yeah.
So ref got his wrist slit by a skate.
Ooh.
So yeah, problem.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Zednik incident in Buffalo. Buffalo's got two really scary cut incidents in their history.
Yeah.
The first one was Clinton Malarchuk in the early '90s had his jugular cut during a game, and pretty much everybody in the audience thought he was going to die that night.
Yeah, well, you know the story about his mom.
Yeah.
His mom was watching the game from home, and he was like bleeding out, but he made time to wave to his mom so she wouldn't worry about him.
Yeah. And then Richard Zednik, probably 2008, 2009, playing for Florida, got his jugular cut. I can't remember whose skate it was. I don't know if it was a teammate or a Sabres skate.
It's probably Tom Wilson.
Could have been Tom.
I think it was Tom Wilson.
Both incidents.
Yeah, I think actually Tom Wilson probably actually calls this in the World Juniors. I'm just saying.
Could be.
Directly or indirectly, somebody was like, I'm going to be Tom Wilson, and then they just decided to cut a dude. So probably took the skate off and chased him with it. I don't know. I didn't watch the whole video. I don't know what happened after that. Tom Wilson just pops up, does like a John Cena type deal.
Yeah.
I hate Tom Wilson. Speaking of Capitals players I hate, fun news that I don't think that you had on the rundown. Alexander Ovechkin has reaffirmed his support for Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Oh.
He is still in support of Putin, so let's form a mob. If anybody's interested, we can carpool. I only have 4 seats, unless you want to ride in the trunk, but you'll have to make room with the pitchforks.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just a dumb thing. He would have been better off just staying silent and letting people think that he supports Putin.
You
and
know,
to pipe up and say something like that.
I am now mad. I wasn't too fond of knowing that Gretzky's record was going to be broken, but the fact that this is the piece of trash that's going to do it, you know,
I mean, it kind of
I
makes me hope that he does it.
at this point I'm kind of just hoping the guy accidentally gets duct taped to his stake and burned alive like they're doing to the Ukrainians, and then we just don't have to worry about the record. So
Yeah, I mean, maybe not that extreme, but um, we saw that this wasn't on the rundown, but earlier this week, the Canadian Hockey League has ruled that it will not allow
yeah, we'll not accept any Russian
Russian
imports.
and Belarusian
Yep.
imports into the league next year, into their import draft. So,
Yeah, and I know that sounds extreme, but that is what he is actively showing that he's in support of.
yeah,
So, I mean, hey man, if you're cool with it, let's just get it over with. You know?
yeah, yep. So, we'll jump to one of the pieces of news then that will probably make you happy is that Alexander Ovechkin is injured, may miss the first few games of the playoffs. Although I really don't think it really matters with the
It
Caps.
doesn't.
I don't think they've got even with Ovechkin in the lines to have the horses to knock out whoever they play in the first round. But
Yeah, I mean, they're
yeah,
going to be a quick exit no matter what.
yeah. So let's talk about the long fall of the Vegas Golden Knights. Last night they were officially eliminated for playoff contention.
For the
Um,
first time in team history.
First time in team history. Uh, I will tell you, as a fan of the Buffalo Sabres, the memes today have been delicious. Um, they okay. So, what I really wanted to talk about is why did the Vegas Golden Knights miss the playoffs this year? And let's take a look at the last 3 games that they played. Um, they held a 4-2 lead with almost 2 minutes remaining in a game against San Jose. San Jose, who's out of the playoffs. They blew that lead, and then they lost in a shootout where they went over 3 in the shootout. That was their final home game of the season. Now they got to go on the road. They got to play Dallas. Dallas, this is the big game of the season. Dallas is, ahead of them. They could make a run of it if they can beat Dallas in regulation. Even if not, they're not eliminated by losing to Dallas or beating Dallas in overtime. Um, they lose the game to Dallas. They blew 2 leads and lost to Dallas in a shootout again. They did not score in the shootout. They were 0 for 7 in that shootout. Then last night, with their season on the line, they never led in Chicago. They were behind the entire game, and were able to get it to a shootout again. But again, 0 for 7 on the shootout, which means over the last 3 games, they missed 17 penalty shots. That's almost impossible to do. I mean, I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine. And you're talking about, you're talking about guys like Jack Eichel who went 0 for 3. You're talking about a guy Mark Stone who went 0 for 3.
And
You're
they're not
talking
even
about,
going up against like high caliber goaltenders.
oh yeah, I mean
It would be different if it was like Patrick Waugh shut out 17 penalty shots this year.
yeah,
Like that sounds right,
yeah. I
But
mean
they're going up against, like second string Chicago goalies. I
yeah.
just I don't know, man. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's more impressive than the Sabres losing streak last year.
They did that to themselves, and
Absolutely.
it wasn't. A lot of people are like taking off on Jack Eichel today. I don't blame Jack Eichel for the Golden Knights. This was a complete team effort.
I mean, how many shots has he missed?
Well, he didn't score in the last 7 games that he played, but neither did Mark
But
Stone, who played in all
yeah,
those
but
games as well.
yeah, okay. So the captain can't score.
Yeah,
You just expect the kid to. It's just, I mean, as far as the penalty shots go, and I've seen the memes about the penalty shots. He didn't have 2 shots in any one of those. So he's literally just as bad as everyone else.
yes,
At the worst.
yeah. I mean, he was a minors player. Did he play well during the last 7 games? No, he did not. And just think of all the teams that they lost to in that 7-game stretch. You're talking about the New Jersey Devils at home, San Jose, a team that they had to beat in Dallas. They beat them, and Dallas is incredibly inconsistent this season. Um, and then last night, Chicago, who is they're out of the playoffs, and you should take care of business against teams that are not in the playoffs.
Yeah,
And if
for
you
sure.
can't do that, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. So Vegas is, I think this is a lot of karma piling up on Vegas right now. How they fired Gerard Gallant, how they got rid of Marc Andre Fleury by not even telling him, but having him find
Two
out through
terrible
Twitter.
decisions.
Hiring Pete DeBoer, who is the reason why Marc Andre Fleury left or was taken out of Vegas, and listening to his press conference the day before the Dallas game, talking about Robin Leonard, was eye opening. Like, he was like, I'm only here to talk about the people who are battling with this. Like, I'm not going to address the Robin Leonard situation. Uh, that's to me, that's a guy that's lost his room. And if Vegas is smart, Pete DeMore will be an ex coach after their next game.
Oh yeah. The second weirdest thing that's going on right now is Arizona beat Minnesota.
Yeah, they beat. Well, Arizona had one job this year.
Why? Why would we win that? I don't want to win that.
Arizona had one job this year, and that was to finish dead last to have the best chance at drafting, uh, whatever his name is, Michael.
Shane Wright.
Shane Wright. That's it. Shane Wright. That was your
Well,
one.
it
That was your
wouldn't
one
matter
job.
how hot, dude. If we had a 99% chance that we were going to win the draft lottery, we would still lose the draft lottery. There's
So
no if there's always been speculation the draft lottery's rigged to keep it interesting and the right teams get the right players and rebuilds and all that stuff. The worst team in the entire league that you could give a star player right now is probably the one that doesn't even have somewhere to play.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, if there's ever been a situation where you're going to find out the draft lottery's rigged, this would be it, and I don't blame them.
yeah. I mean, I still think that Arizona's got the pieces right now. It's just, are they going to be patient enough? Uh, are they going to allow the rebuild to happen, or is somebody going to get stupid and be like Tim Murray in Buffalo, where he had that draft capital right around the time they drafted Eichel, the year before and the year after, and he squandered it to speed up the rebuild. And he brought in Robin Leonard. He brought in. He did end up getting before he got Jack Eichel. He got Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, he put some good pieces in there. He did the Evander Kane trade, um, but it wasn't well constructed and it failed. And that's the thing that Arizona's going to have to watch out for: is can you be patient enough to let this build naturally? Because you
Yeah,
should get some good pieces.
yeah, man. And speaking of Evander Kane, that is like the best example of found a home I've ever seen. This
Yeah.
guy is living it up right now. I mean,
Oh yeah.
this is probably one of the most impressive performances from a has been that I've ever seen in hockey.
Oh yeah. And honestly, kudos to him for recognizing that this is the final opportunities for him, or he's going to be playing in war torn Russia uh, next year. That was his options, and he's taken this one. And when he got picked up by the Oilers, remember the Oilers were floundering in that Pacific Division and did not look good, and he brought some stability there. And
A lot.
from they went from these guys could miss the playoffs. These guys could have been Vegas very easily to a solid second place in the Pacific Division,
Yeah.
hosting the first round of the playoffs. So
And it's
kudos to
funny you
him.
mentioned the KHL. The KHL is collapsing. I would honestly be surprised if they play next year. Reason being, whenever every country in the world started to sanction against Russia and they were taking these offshore bank accounts from
Yeah,
Russian oligarchs,
yeah,
guess where everybody that owns a KHL team's money was? Now it's being donated to buy ammunition for Ukraine.
Yep.
So, I that's going to be an interesting one too, man. Because if the KHL collapses and these guys can find a way to get to the NHL, you might see some absolute top tier talent come over in the next year or two.
Yeah, I've had some questions because Buffalo drafted three players from the KHL. One was already over here, Steven Stardary. He's been playing the USHL this year, and he got to play college next year. But there's Alexander Kiskov and Prokhor Poltapov, who was picked the first pick of the second round last year. I've been wondering this whole war, how these guys are going to come over. Will they come over? Maybe they're ultra proud of their country and they want to stay in Russia. Who knows how this is going to happen? But if there's no place to play next season, you could see just a mad influx of young Russian prospects. Although they can't play in the CHL, they're going to have to play in like the USHL or play in. Hell, they may even start playing in like ECHL and or some Euro.
OHL, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how they get over here. But I think that anybody that's willing to come over from Russia to play hockey in the U.S. or Canada is probably the level of patriotic Russian that we want, and that's not. They're just chasing money. They don't care about the country. So, I mean, guys that are established here, like Ovechkin, they're kind of questionable, obviously. But, some of these kids, I mean, there's a lot of people in that country right now wishing that they had a way out. So, if we get a wave of those, man, it could get really interesting really quick here.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse, and it's you're going to have stories not quite to the extent of like when Alexander McGillney left the Soviet Union, but there are going to be people who are trying to escape Russia through alternate means because even air traffic from Russia has been suspended, so they're going to have to get over the border to Kazakhstan or China or wherever to get to play. So
my girlfriend works for an airline, and she's in their call center, and they have people because she speaks Ukrainian and Russian and English and Polish. So if they get a Russian call, she's who gets it, being the only person in the call center that can speak the language. And I mean, they have people calling, and they're like, "Hey, help, please get us out of here," And they're like, "Yeah, we're not flying from Moscow. Good luck." So, but I mean, it's a real thing that there are people that are begging to get out of that country right now, and they'll do anything they can.
I don't blame them because as the economic sanctions in that country bite, then the level of desperation is only going to get worse. And right now, the people that actually have some means to get out of the country are going to do that. So,
well, and every day it's getting worse. So,
yeah.
I mean, now it's a roll of toilet paper costs what a night in a hotel used to. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
And they had free toilet paper in the hotels.
That's why you go stay at the hotel.
That's why you stay at the hotel.
Let's see. Austin Matthews became the first American player to crack the 60 goal mark, which I thought was just surprising. I thought we had an American.
I thought Mike Modano did.
Never did.
I like quadruple check that whenever I heard it. I was like, I'm pretty sure that Modano did in '99, and then I was like, okay, well, maybe not.
Must have gotten to the 50s. Modano's career kind of. I mean, it was started at during the high flying goal scoring era of the NHL, but most of his career was kind of in that as New Jersey came to ascendancy in the checking area.
Yeah, the 1-4 trap era.
Yeah. So, he could have scored 60 if he played, hit his prime in say late 80s or hell, if he was still playing today, he probably could have hit 60.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't drafted until 91. So,
yeah. So, but yeah, kudos to Austin Matthews. I mean, that's, embarrassing. I mean, they're like Slovakian players and Czech players and multiple Canadians and Swedes and stuff have scored 60. So that's the first American. Kudos to him. Maybe someday soon he'll be in a Arizona Coyotes sweater.
I think that as long as we're a team, whenever he goes to go somewhere, it's probably going to be us.
Yeah.
Um, there's a big if we're still around.
I will tell you that if they can get through these 3 years in Tempe, get a new barn, I think that's when there'll be pressure to bring Matthews home
Yeah,
to open the new building, to have 3 years from now, Arizona should really, the young players that they're drafting this year should start hitting the lineup and coming into their own. That could be a very exciting time to bring a guy like Matthews in to put butts in the seats.
yeah, and I
Um,
mean, I think within the next 5 years, the two biggest Pacific teams you're going to see are going to be LA and Arizona, just because of the way
could
they've been
be,
drafted.
could be, yeah. With Arizona, so there was a big complaint that came out last week where the ticket prices for the new Tempe Arizona State Arena came out, and people lost their ever loving minds over it. I will say with what they did with the ticket prices there, yes, they're expensive. I would hope that they have like a reserve section for college students to bring that element into the arena.
They didn't think
Um,
that far, I'm sure.
they didn't. They didn't. And I know that the NHL probably put a lot of pressure on them because the NHL is so ticket revenue dependent. But if you look at their ticket prices compared to the lower bowl of every other NHL arena, especially the successful franchises right now, ticket prices are not that incomparable.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Edmonton, Montreal, I looked at tickets. I was going to be in Edmonton, so I looked at tickets. This is whenever Montreal sucked, you know?
Yeah.
And I looked at like row J, lower bowl. So like mid lower. I'm not on the glass or anything, but I can still like see the puck. It's like I think it was 340 for a single ticket,
Ooh, dang.
and that was
Yeah.
a few weeks in advance. So,
I
and
went
in
to
American money, I mean, it's still going to be close to 280. It's one there.
Yeah, I went to a Thrashers versus Buffalo game. Now this is Thrashers. This is the year the Thrashers actually made the playoffs. The one season they made the playoffs. But Buffalo was always one of the biggest games of the year because a bunch of Buffalo people live in Atlanta. Um, so the place was packed, and I got like 5 rows from the glass and over by the player benches, and we spent like 125 per ticket. Now this is 2007, 2007, 2008 dollars, or no, 2006, $2007, and that was pricey then. My first time I went to a hockey game, I went to a St. Louis game, and I think I paid 50 to sit one row behind the glass in the in the corner, and you know, hockey prices are definitely going up, but I just don't think that Arizona's prices are all that uh, out of step with other arenas' lower bowl prices. And I think that's what people need to focus on is how do these compare to the lower bowl prices? Now, the product they're going to put on the ice next season probably doesn't warrant such a large ticket price, but again, I think that's forced from the NHL to allow them to play in that Tempe building so they can derive some income off of it. Let's see. Did Alexander Ovechkin? Okay, so we did talk about Vegas, Nashville. Of course, Nashville and Dallas did finally clinch this week. The final two teams to clinch. So we know the 8 teams that are appearing in the playoffs from both Eastern Conference and Western Conference now. Uh, and we'll get into the possible matchups here in a minute. But it's funny. The Eastern Conference really had their playoff team sewed up like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it took all the way until the final couple of days before we get the Western Conference sewn up. Um, I don't think either Dallas or Nashville are very long for the playoffs. They're just not that. Dallas' problem is they're not consistent. Now they could go on a heater, and if Dallas wins a series, it's because they swept a team because they just went nuts.
Yeah, went off, man. Same thing with
Yeah,
Nashville.
Nashville. The problem in Nashville is that UC Soros is injured, and he might. He's definitely missing the last 2 games of the season. He might miss a game or two of the playoffs. They think he can return for the first round of the playoffs, um, but the way I've heard his lower body injury described, that it's going to be a very nagging injury, and he may not have the lateral movement he needs, which he will need if he's playing either Calgary or Colorado. That's not going to be an easy series for any goaltender. Um, Let's see. Dustin Brown is retiring at the end of the Kings playoff run. 18 seasons, like 712 points, 2-time Stanley Cup champion,
Dude, I
former
thought he
captain.
retired a while ago.
Uh, you know what? Kudos to him for sticking it out through the rebuild. I mean, he could have, you know, 2 or 3 years ago said, I've had a 15-year career. I'm 2-time Stanley Cup champion, longtime captain. Uh, he could have rode off to the into the sunset and protected his legacy. But he stuck around, tutored the kids, mentored the kids, and they're back in the playoffs. He gets one more kick at the can. I don't think LA is quite ready enough for a long run, but you know, uh, I don't know that I would say that Dustin Brown had a Hall of Fame career, but I think definitely once he hangs him up, it's going to be a year or two, and we'll see his number 23 hung in the rafters at the, what are they calling it? Is it the crypto center now?
Crypto.com center,
Yeah,
because it used to be the Staples
Staples.
Center, and it was that forever.
Yeah, it was.
Which I feel like crypto's not going to last very long. If you've been watching prices, that
No.
place is going to be getting a new name soon.
Yeah, it's going to be like those. Uh, for some reason, Buffalo continues to name their arena after a bank, and you know how to get changed. I mean, it's been, it was, can you, Marine Midland Center when it opened. Then it became HSBC, which was, probably the longest it had a bank associated with it. Then it was First Niagara Center. Now it's like KeyBank Center. Like every time that bank changes hands, it changes the name of the arena. And uh, yeah, never name your arena after a bank. That's just a bad idea.
Yeah,
Uh,
or after a casino, I guess.
or casino. Yeah.
Kind of the
Uh,
same thing if you think about it.
you know what? The arena in Glendale was just such a bad concept to begin with because of how Arizona grew, the Phoenix area grew. You're putting it out in an area that people are going to have to, unless they live in Glendale, are going to have to fight through traffic to get to.
Yeah, I mean, if you get off from work at 5 and the game starts at 7,
There's not a good chance you're getting there.
it's still pretty iffy that you're actually going to make it on time. Which a 2
Yeah,
hour drive to watch a hockey game, like I complain about driving 5 hours to Carolina to watch a game, but I only go like twice a year, right? So
yeah.
if I had to do that, like if I was a season ticket holder that worked on the other side of town, I just wouldn't be a season ticket holder.
Well, I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, well, it's a 5 hour commute because I live a couple hundred miles away versus it's a 2 hour commute and I live 20 miles away.
Right.
That's, you're right. You get off work, the last thing you want to do is sit in traffic for 2 hours to go sit and buy overpriced beer and overpriced hot dogs and watch a team that's not been doing very well lately. Um, you know, for all the faults that Atlanta had, at least the Thrashers were downtown in an area with public transportation. You could get to the arena. You didn't have to get into downtown. You didn't have to drive into downtown to go to a game, which it was a saving factor for the Thrashers. Because if you had to drive down there like the Braves, the reason why Braves never drew anybody during the regular season was because no one wanted to go downtown during rush hour to go
Right.
catch a Braves game and sit in 95-degree temperatures with 138% humidity. There's
The
just no reason to do that.
the best laid out that I've ever seen in an NHL arena or stadium or whatever you want to call it
Yeah.
is definitely Carolina.
Yeah,
Because it's at the intersection of all the major interstates, and no matter which part of town you're getting on, like you have to go past Blue Ridge, and you're 5 minutes off of Blue Ridge. Like I know people that live in Durham, as far away and still be considered in the Raleigh Durham area as possible,
yeah,
and they can leave at 6 o'clock and be standing in line for doors to open at 7.
that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, you do have
Like
to
parked and
plan.
all,
Yeah,
everything.
you did have to plan to go to an Atlanta game, but it's still, with the public transportation, you can get in and out of there and not have too much of an issue. Uh, but yeah, Glendale is just too far away from the major. It has a major population center, but again, if you spent 2 hours getting to your home in Glendale, and then you would go out to a hockey game afterwards, by the time you got home, you'd be exhausted. Unless you worked in Glendale, that's pretty much your fan base is who you're trying to attract are the people that live and work in Glendale. And really, the suburb stadiums never work. Um, you look at Canada for the Ontario or for the Ottawa Senators. People always complain about the drive to get out to Ottawa, but the downtown arenas like St. Louis with the Enterprise Center, never have problems getting packed because they're right in the city, right on public transportation. It's easy to get in and out. So, let's see, who's the MVP this season? Who do you have as the MVP?
I feel like it's kind of not even up for discussion at this point. Austin Matthews.
Yeah, I mean, so there are three candidates. One is not as big a candidate now because he kind of fell off a little bit, or because the person he was fighting against is had kind of hit a nice spurt. But Austin Matthews with his 60 goals. You have Connor McDavid with 122 points, and then kind of the dark horse will be Jonathan Huberdeau with 85 assists. He has 117 points. Um, I think primarily because of the media market, Jonathan Huberdeau is not going to finish anywhere near Matthews and McDavid. And I think because of the media market, it's going to be Austin Matthews because he hit the 60 goals. It's in Toronto. I think a disproportionate number of the voters are greater Toronto area
Selling
media
sweaters.
members. Yeah, I mean uh, this is the thing that they want, the MVP of the league. They want to make that deep playoff run. That will remain to be seen for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but he did get his 60 goals the other night with two. That second goal where he got when he hit 60 was a snipe. That was a beautiful shot. Um, all right. Let's take a look at the playoff matchups, the known and the unknown for the Eastern Conference, which is strange because the Eastern Conference was settled so early, but all of their series are in flux. Nothing is set in stone in the Eastern Conference. So, um, Florida is going to win the East. They've already clinched the East. So, their reward for winning the East and possibly the President's Trophy this year is home ice through the playoffs. Although the President's Trophy does have a curse associated with it, and there's a chance that they may not make it out of the first or second round. But they get wild card two. So the worst finisher, the eighth ranked team in the conference, and that's going to be either Washington or Pittsburgh. Um, so Washington can finish ahead of Pittsburgh on points and move to wild card three, and that I mean, they have to finish ahead on points because Pittsburgh has the tiebreakers. Um, do you think either one of these teams has what it takes to take down Florida?
I don't even think they're going to get close, man. Especially if that first round, if Ovechkin's still out.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of a deal breaker, dude. I'd give Pittsburgh the edge, just surely because of depth, because Washington has nothing now.
yeah. Except for the problem with Pittsburgh is the Tristan Jarry got injured, so they're going to be going with Casey DeSmith in net. They haven't had the best of time in the last few games, and they've got one more game remaining. So if they can win tonight or whenever they're playing, if they can win their final game, I think they wrap up a tie. Washington. Let me see what the scores are. Washington is actually down to the Islanders right now. Brock Nelson scored early. I don't think Pittsburgh's playing tonight. No, they are not. Pittsburgh plays Columbus tomorrow night. So if Pittsburgh can take care of business, then they'll get that wild card, or I'm sorry, the third place in the division. The one thing with Washington is they do play a much heavier game. I just don't think I could see them taking Florida to 7 games.
Yeah.
And I don't see Washington or Pittsburgh, whoever finishes third, driving the Rangers to in that first round. Yeah, so the Rangers are third in the. They have the. I'm sorry, they have the second in the Metro on lock, and they'll host either Pittsburgh or Washington, the better of those two teams.
And neither of those have anything that resembles a shot against the Rangers.
Yeah, Rangers have two things. They've got Igor Shesterkin, who is just as red hot as you can get, and then they've got depth scoring.
I mean, Zibanejad, man, you don't know what that guy's going to do.
Yeah, Zibanejad is a dark horse. I mean, he could be just hold, not score a thing the entire series, but he can also drop in 15 goals in the series.
That's
the kind of scorer he is.
If you told me right now that Zibanejad had 3 hat tricks in a row,
yeah,
I'd be like, okay, that's happened before. Cool.
Yeah. Not unprecedented. So and the depth scoring, the Rangers, if hindsight being 2020, they absolutely won the trade deadline with their acquisitions, Kopp and Braun and Frankie Vetrano from Florida. They man out like bandits and made their team stronger.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see them in the conference final.
Oh yeah, I mean they're going to give whoever they play a tough time. I think this is a team that can surprise and get all the way to the Cup Finals. I think it might be a year early for them to be that juggernaut team to run it, but I even wouldn't be surprised if they won the Stanley Cup.
I don't know, man. I got a lot of faith in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very tough division. For the first time ever since they've gone to the 16-team playoff, every team in the division in the Eastern Conference finished with over 100 points. That's tough. I'm looking for my Buffalo Sabres, and they look great, and they're finishing the season strong. But for them to make the playoffs next year, they have to have like a 24 to 27 point improvement.
Yeah.
It's like 12, 15 games. That's crazy to think about. Let's see. Toronto, they hold the number 2 spot in the Atlantic, and they're going to host. Let's see. Toronto will host either Tampa or Boston. It's likely Tampa. And the thing I would ask with Toronto is they're a shaky team with almost 2 decades of first-round failures. I don't think they've gotten out of the first round since 2003. So we're almost 2 decades into first-round failures. How do they respond to any kind of adversity?
They don't. That's the problem.
Yeah. Can they? That's that. How?
No, they can't. That's the problem.
Yeah. Will they be able to exercise their demons? That's the end-all be-all question with the Toronto Maple Leafs going into the playoffs. I think at the first instance of any kind of, say Jack Campbell gets lit up in game 1, this team will fold like a aluminum lawn chair under my fat ass. That's There's
it's not even worth the time it takes to talk about them.
when
They
you
just
watch them.
don't play well. They do great, and then they get to the playoffs and they try to coast it, and that's
Yeah.
not how playoffs work.
Well, I don't think that they understand that there has to be a second gear. Like you can dominate the regular season all you want. Once you get to the playoffs, it's different. And will they make that? Can they make that adjustment and get that second gear? If not, yeah, they're going to be sitting out because of the matchups they've had where they've been knocked out in the first round. This is going to be by far their toughest. Toronto or Tampa is the two-time defending Cup champion, and if they collapse and Boston wins their final two games, then it's the team that took them out twice of these first round collapses. So there's a lot of demons that Toronto will be facing. So let's see. Carolina is going to win the Metro. They've got the one wild card one, and that's going to be either Boston or Tampa. That's a tough out for Carolina.
Oh yeah,
Either one of them is going to be a pain. It's like my favorite little bastard went to the penalty box. Brad Marchand. Yeah.
Right, Thomas.
Tom Wilson. I don't know if he's in the box or not.
I'm
But
sure
he's going around cutting people.
Box that man.
Here's the question though: if Carolina plays Boston, will they wear the Whalers jersey?
I sure hope so.
I hope so.
That's like a generational game, man.
A clinching game, just to throw it in the Bruins' face. I think that would be classic. But yeah, that's the Eastern Conference. Again, next two nights are going to really decide where these teams fall. Nobody's got a set matchup yet. I would say that probably what you're going to see is, I think Florida is going to end up playing Washington, and I think Florida will hold off Washington, especially if Ovechkin's injured. That means let's see. That will mean that the Rangers will play Pittsburgh. Again, Pittsburgh just doesn't have the horses to get past Washington. Plus, with Casey DeSmith in net, I don't think that he's going to be able to hold them out of the net long enough to get Sid and Gino going. And I would say that Tampa is going to be the team that beats that holds on to that third place position, and they'll get Toronto. And I think Tampa takes out Toronto, and what's the other matchup? Oh, did I say Carolina already? Oh yeah, Carolina versus Boston.
Which Carolina-Boston, that would be a terrible series.
I mean, it's going to be a great series, but it's going to be it's terrible for whoever gets into it.
It's going to be a great series if you're like a masochist.
It's a tough one, definitely. I think that Carolina's got the horses to get past. The question with Boston always is: are they going to get enough secondary scoring besides the perfection line? I don't think that they do. If you're relying on Taylor Hall to get you past a round of playoff series, that's a bad policy. All right, let's take a look at the Western Conference. Colorado is going to win the Western Conference. Whether they can pass Florida in the last couple of games to get the President's Trophy or not remains to be seen. I don't know that they've clinched the Western Conference, so they really don't have to play all that hard these next couple of games. So I don't know if it's a priority for them to get the home ice throughout the playoffs. If you're that good, like Colorado, home ice versus getting rest for the first round of the playoffs, I don't know. I mean, I think your road record's going to be pretty good anyway, no matter how you slice it. So,
how about those Seattle Kraken though?
What's that?
I said, how about those Seattle Kraken with this breakthrough entry year?
Ugh. Man, at least you guys didn't finish ahead of them.
That's true.
You have the second best chance of getting the first overall pick. I'm rooting for you guys. I'm rooting for you guys to get it.
There's no chance.
I'm just hoping it doesn't end up Vegas winning the lottery, because they've changed the rules, and teams that finish 11 through 16 can win the lottery, but they can only move up 10 spots. And so if Vegas wins the lottery, either the first or second pick, then they can only move up 11 spots, and it would flip the pick back to Vegas, and Buffalo would get pushed back a pick. That's like the worst case scenario. And I'm joking about it, but I'm not going to be surprised if it happens.
You know the Buffalo luck, man.
Yeah, yeah. But so Colorado's going to win the Western Conference. They're going to get to play Wild Card 2, which right now, as the standings has it, is Nashville. It could be Dallas. Preds are holding the slot, and the problem with the Preds is they've got Colorado tonight, and then they play Arizona, which you would say, okay, Arizona's got a pretty good chance of picking up points, but Arizona's been running through teams lately. They had
sucks. We don't want
that tremendous. Well, they can't move up or move down any, so they're pretty static. They can play however they want to against the Preds, and it's not going to hurt them. But that 3-goal comeback against Dallas was just ridiculous.
I don't know what's going on in Arizona, but the fact that we can't have it whenever it matters just makes me so mad.
But so that's the last two games for Nashville. It's going to be tough for them to overcome that 1-point lead for Dallas right now. So I'm thinking that Nashville is going to be the team that plays Colorado with UC Saros. If he's not 100%, UC Saros has to channel his inner Jesus to be able to save to win that series. Colorado can just turn it on and blow them out of the water fairly efficiently. And if Saros isn't in there, I don't even know who their backup is.
Yeah, well, you know what they say.
What's
don't
that?
mess with the Jesus.
You don't fuck with the Jesus man. But yeah, that's that. I don't even know who their backup is, and the problem with Nashville is they have not played their backup
at all.
Like it's been Saros for
it's
7
been
games.
Enough that we don't know who it is.
Yeah, I haven't seen a goaltender play for a team this much since Marty Brodeur for the Devils. And Marty Brodeur
play it. He sat there and waited.
Yeah, waited to watch the opposing team get cut down in the trap. So, yeah, good luck to Nashville. At least they made the playoffs. That's all I can say for them.
Yeah. Really, the West is pretty cut and dry. I mean, there's not.
Yeah, Calgary will play probably Dallas. They get wild card 1, so they'll probably play Dallas, which is going to be the most aesthetically displeasing series that you can imagine. That bright orange versus the bright green, kind of makes your eyes bleed a little bit.
It's going to be like Christmas in 1991.
Ooh, awful. And again, Dallas could win the series, but it's going to have to be a sweep because it's one of those. They'll score, and then they stop scoring.
They're on or they're off.
Yeah, and so who we get in the playoffs for Dallas, I don't know. I think Jake Ottinger is a good goalie. I just don't know. And Wedgwood has been very good as a backup. I just don't know that Dallas is going to be able to score enough to keep up with Calgary. And what a turnaround for Calgary when you look at it. Last year, Calgary they missed the playoffs. Jacob Markstrom had a horrible season. They just didn't look good at all. And you got rid of your captain in the expansion draft, and now they're just flying, man. This is a tough team. They could make a pretty good run in the Western Conference, although I think the Central teams are just that much better.
Yeah.
Once they cross over and start playing a Central team that's not Dallas, they'll do a lot better. I think they have the advantage over. So the next matchup would be the 2 versus 3 teams in the Pacific. We actually know who this series is, and that's the Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. We know who has home ice in this series, and that's going to be the Edmonton Oilers. You're going to hear a lot of references to Wayne Gretzky in this series. You're going to hear a lot of references to the Miracle in Manchester in this series. I give the Edmonton Oilers advantage, not just because of home ice, but I think because it might just be a little bit too early for the Kings.
Yeah, I agree.
Those young guys, they struggled down the stretch, kind of backed into the playoffs. And what if it wasn't for playing, the Anaheims over the last week, in Arizona over the last week, that they may not have made the playoffs. If they had Nashville's schedule going down the stretch, I don't know that they would have made the playoffs. The other matchup is, again, we know the teams in this one. It's the 2-3 matchup in the Central. St. Louis versus Minnesota. We don't know who has home ice yet. St. Louis has the advantage. They have the regulation wins advantage. They're tied on points at 109, although I believe St. Louis have more games left. Yeah, I think Minnesota plays their last game, and St. Louis. Oh no, St. Louis only has one game left. So Minnesota has to win both of their games, or at least get 3 points out of the next 2 games to get home ice for this first round. St. Louis has to win and finish tied on points with Minnesota to clinch the home ice.
Minnesota's the team I'm most interested in seeing in the playoffs, man. I think they're going to go pretty far.
This is another clash of the Titans, though. I mean, this is a tough series because St. Louis is red hot right now. And Minnesota's played well, although they've had maybe they've taken their foot off the gas because they are pretty well in the playoffs, but it's still competitive because they've got to get, you kind of want to get home ice in this one. I don't know. It's amazing to think about St. Louis being as high up as they are, going as well as they are, and they're playing their backup goaltender.
Yeah.
And
he's not going to stay the backup, though.
Oh, no. Well, here's the problem. St. Louis just dumped $6 million a season on Jordan Binnington last year for like another 4 or 5 years.
Which I called that one as being a bad.
Oh yeah,
bad decision.
I didn't trust him. When they gave him that contract, and then he promptly, kind of went in the tank for a little bit. Came back at the end of the season, did pretty well. Did okay at the beginning of the season, but Billy Husso has just really taken the reins there in St. Louis.
Yeah, for sure.
Is really a strong point for the Blues right now. But who stops Kirill, man? That's the thing. Can you stop Kirill over a 7-game series, or at least enough to win a 7-game series?
Kirill is quickly becoming the new McDavid.
I need to see. I think it's not so much the goals. It's more can he really be the assist guy that McDavid is?
I mean, if he can find his Draisaitl, absolutely. That's going to be the issue,
Yeah, the issue for Minnesota going forward is, can they find a Draisaitl and can they afford him with all that money wrapped up in 2 players that are still that are playing in the league but are not on your team anymore? That's hard to get past.
Yeah, for sure.
But so those are the matchups. I'm going to say Colorado is going to beat Nashville pretty easily. Calgary is going to beat Dallas pretty easily. St. Louis versus Minnesota.
Minnesota's going to tear them to shreds.
Yeah, I mean, with the acquisition of Fleury and Talbot still playing just lights out, even though he was, they brought in a replacement. He's still playing top-notch hockey. I give the edge to Minnesota in this one, and then LA versus Edmonton. I'm going to give Edmonton the edge in this one because of the experience. They
Common
have some
sense.
recent playoff experience. They've got a little chip on their shoulder because they did underperform that last season in the playoffs, getting swept by Winnipeg. Um, and Evander Kane needs some more money, so he'll probably throw some pucks in the net too. He needs to get a call.
Brick
Uh,
phone.
yeah, and we know that the playoffs will start Monday. We just don't know which matchups are starting. The interesting thing with this is the new television deal. This is the first year of playoffs under the new television deal. Now, I was hearing some of the details of what they're going to be doing. Like, a network is not going to control a series, so there's going to be sharing between these series. Like, you know, uh, uh, TNT will call Game One of the Rangers series, but ESPN will handle games 2 and 3. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but uh, I don't know. Maybe they figured out how to do it. Maybe it's uh, you know TNT calls the home games for the Rangers, and uh, ESPN calls the home games for the opponent in that series. But
Also, can we all agree that hockey on ESPN sucks?
oh my God,
It's
I
terrible.
I will say, I know that a lot of people are bagging on Leah Hextall. I don't have too much of a problem with Leah Hextall. The person I have a problem with is John Buccigross.
Yes.
Oh my God, your 1990s Tommy Boy references. Please stop. Please, for the love of God, stop. I, like,
Yeah,
I
Chris
don't need to
Farley's
hear,
been dead 30 years.
yeah,
Shut up.
holy shnikes. Like, who says that anymore?
Who said that in the first place and why?
Really, only John Buccigross saw it. And
Yeah, man.
and he has that annoying thing that I know a lot of Canadians do. Like when you're watching Hockey Night in Canada, they mention every little podunk town in northern Alberta that some kid is from. Uh, you know, uh, he
I
does it.
can give him a pass on that one.
He does it with college hockey. Like he went to the University of Maine. Like I don't give
Yeah,
a shit.
that's the only reason I know where anybody went is because
Yeah,
sometimes they accidentally put hockey on ESPN. But I think that pretty well wraps us up.
yeah, man. Oh, so I did mention that tonight is Rick Jenner's last road game. I'm going to watch the rest of the game here in a minute. I got to go into DC tomorrow morning, so I'll be getting up at like 2:45 in the morning.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
Well, enjoy it.
yeah. But
Safe
tomorrow night
travels.
is Rick Jenner's last game as a play guy for the Buffalo Sabres. He's calling uh, game against Chicago. 51 years in the broadcast booth, fantastic career. Not a dry eye will be in the house, including my house tomorrow night. So, uh, congratulations to Rick Jenneret, a solid legend. I've actually got two pieces of memorabilia. They're some of my most prized memorabilia. There's, I don't know if you can see it over there, but there in front of the little mirror there, you can see a brick that is a brick from the Memorial Auditorium, signed by Rick Jenneret, Harry Neal, Lindy Ruff, and Darcy Regier back in 2008. And then same night, I got a white Buffalo Sabres jersey, a vintage 1970s white Buffalo Sabres jersey, and Rick Jenneret signed the Buffalo on it. And that's two of my most prized possessions, and I will definitely hate not hearing him next season. Not that I don't like Jan Dunleavy, I just you can't replace Jenneret. So, all right, man. Hey, tell people about the deep end.
Yeah, I own an antique store. It's in West Virginia, southern West Virginia. No, it's a pretty cool place. Deep in Antiques in Beckley, West Virginia. We have a lot of things, many different things.
All the
We
things.
specialize in rare military stuff, crystals, Pyrex. My partner Patty sells a lot of jewelry. We have thousands of vinyl records, walls of knives. There's close to 1,000 knives in stock at any given point. So, stop in, check us out. We probably have that one thing that you didn't know you needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for everyone tuning in tonight. Give us a like, share, whatever you're watching. And we'll be back next week to talk about the first few games of the playoffs.
Playoff season.
Playoffs?
Yeah.
Playoffs?
Play it off, man.
Yeah. So best 2 months in sports here is Stanley Cup playoffs. If you live anywhere near an NHL sister city that's having a playoff game, go see it. There's nothing that will
Well worth it.
compare. Yeah, it is worth every penny you'll pay. I've overpaid for playoff tickets. The intensity that's in the arena is amazing. Definitely go check it out. So, anyway, thanks, Travis. Thanks to everybody, and we will see everyone next week.
Bye, guys.